What's going on, guys? So today we're going to be talking about the gear that I personally regret buying, and every photographer, every videographer has the gear that they maybe purchased, never ended up using, or just regretted buying. And here's my personal list of the gear that I regret buying. Let's jump into it. The first thing up that I personally regret buying would be a gimbal. This was one of the first gimbals that came out, and it wasn't very good, like the way you had to balance it. It was just really heavy. It was very not great, especially for trying to have to balance it on location. And it was really hard, and like you needed both hands. And I only used it a couple times. It wasn't the greatest. Yes, the shots were absolutely amazing once I did get them, but for the amount of work that it took, it just wasn't for me, especially because most of my work is run and gun. The next thing up on the list was the on-location lighting, which was the Chrome Ranger RS Speed AS. I forget the actual terminology, but it was like a battery pack with a light attached to it. This honestly gave me absolutely amazing quality images, really high quality lighting. I just never really ended up using it. It was just too heavy to carry around. It was more of a pain. Yeah, I just ended up selling it. It was honestly much more of a hassle than any good, in my personal opinion. Maybe if you had like a huge production going on, then it would come in handy. I am looking for a smaller, lighter, more compact lighting. So if you do know of any brands, leave them in the comments down below, and maybe I will pick them up and try to review them and see how I personally like them. Is gonna be a shocker, but it's the Canon RF 35mm 1.8 IS lens. And this lens for me is honestly, it's an amazing lens, don't get me wrong, but for my personal uses that just didn't get used. I already have the EF35 1.4 as well as the RF 28-70 f2 lens. So the 35 just sat at home. It didn't get used whatsoever. I used it maybe a couple times. For me, it was no good. And that just sums it up, where gear that some people would absolutely love to have and use all the time doesn't get used for other people. So you can't just rely on other people's opinions. Like I could say, that's annoying. I'm gonna wait until it's done. You can't rely on other people's opinions on the gear that they personally use. You have to kind of take it with a grain of salt and pick up what you think you're gonna use, and maybe you won't even end up using that. So I would say rent gear first and then purchase it. A light meter. I use a light meter when I use the strobe lighting, which is also on this list. But yeah, I just never really used it that much. I just ended up testing with the camera, just taking a couple shots, getting the lighting exactly the way I wanted it in camera, and then moving on. And the light meter does come in super handy, but I just never really ended up using it. I just left it everywhere, and then it ended up sitting in my desk for so long, so I ended up giving it to somebody who shoots film, which they're gonna use it a lot more than I will. The next thing up on this list is an intervalometer, and this is used to take time lapses, and I bought it. I used it maybe once or twice, didn't really get how to use it, and then I forgot to turn it off. The battery died. Then I ended up getting a new camera that has an intervalometer built in. So it just sat in my desk for like the last 4 or 5 years, and it's still in my desk right now. I should probably give it to someone who needs it. The last thing on this list that I've built of the gear that I regret buying would be a roller case. I forget the name of the brand. I'm gonna insert a clip of the roller case now. I used to carry the lighting kit that I did have in this roller case, but it was ideal for when I was rolling on like concrete, if I'm rolling on the road or anything that's paved and smooth. It was ideal. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. But if I needed to carry it to say the beach or into the grass or anywhere else, it was extremely heavy and like cumbersome, and wasn't really my favorite thing. And once I got rid of the lighting kit, this has just sat in the closet for a couple years now, and I haven't really found a use for it. Maybe if I get a new lighting kit or something like that, I can store that in there. But as of right now, like I didn't even really need that roller case, because the lighting kit that I did have came with like a strap, so you could just like throw it over your shoulder. And yeah, it was just pretty useless and a waste of money because I don't use it. Yeah. Anyways, that's the gear that I regret purchasing myself. Leave what you regret purchasing down in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until the next video, peace.